let's just start, like, we can work our way backwards to, like, the way Busta Rhymes, like, thinks about his career. And you can kind of get a sense of, like, all this deeper stuff going on that I think if you were just casually watching MTV, you might not have been aware of. And also gives you a little insight into how he feels about 2020. So, you know, they start by asking him, "Hello, Busta. Your new album's artwork shows a skull and a face mask. How are you coping with this COVID-19 period?" And Busta says, "This is one of the most unfortunate times in the history of the existence of this planet. It feels like our intelligence is being insulted significantly, and there's no accountability for the suffering we have to encounter as a result. There feels like there's a blatant inconsistency in truth for us to be able to protect our well-being in the right way. People want to go to work and not be subjected to do anything illegal to take care of themselves or their family, and people have worked hard to build businesses that are being taken away from them and can't see family members. If you ask questions, you're looked at as a troublemaker or someone not being mindful of the sheeple who just want to be sheeple and comply. So the weirdest shit about this is people aren't digging deeper and empowering themselves in these times when they're trying to take away the little bit of power we once had." And the interviewer asks, "Who's they? What would anyone exactly have to gain from this?" Busta says, "There's obviously something wrong and some other agenda going on. A lot of it is political. It feels super imbalanced and unfair. We're getting caught up in the overwhelming abundances of propaganda that's keeping us distracted from realizing that there's some truth we need to start working towards and getting to the bottom of." The interviewer says, "Let's agree to disagree. 1998's Extinction Level Event, the final World Front, was loaded with apocalyptic imagery, so 2020 feels an appropriate time to release the follow-up." Busta says, "With my work, I try to point out that a day was coming that is going to permanently end the world we've grown to know and love. I never knew we would live to see this time." Laughs. "I name my albums The Coming, When Disaster Strikes, ELE, Extinction Level Event, The Final World Front, Anarchy, It Ain't Safe No More, and The Big Bang. I was hoping none of these events did happen, but felt it was my duty to start these conversations about how do we prepare for it if it does. So I would always have these narratives attached to the themes of my albums. That's why Everything Remains Raw, the B-side to my 1996 single, Woo-Ha, Got You All in Check. I said, there's only 5 years left. 5 years later, the World Trade Center falls. Then in 1998, my first Extinction Level Event album, the artwork is the World Trade Center gone and New York in flames. 3 years later, it actually happens. I wasn't prophesizing anything. I just wanted to share the shit that was actually out there that people are told they're conspiracy theorists if they read it. You know, the conspiracy theorist term is to discredit whatever truth you might be getting close to. Now there's no changing my mind. It's not coincidence. Somebody planned this shit, but I don't know who." The interviewer says, "So what else was inspiring the album?"
Wow.
And, you know, he also says, when I started this album, in addition to the shit on that level, I wanted to talk about the disproportionate level of injustice that black and brown people have to deal with. Racial injustice has been going on for hundreds of years, so there's never a not appropriate time to put out this type of album. But it's balanced with good music and feel-good energy and entertainment, because I never want to come across as too preachy. So he's like Stallone in that way. He doesn't want to, but I mean, kind of like Cobra. This album is incredibly preachy. Not always not really in a bad way, but it's definitely preachy.
Yeah, I guess. Well, no one wants to be preachy, even when I guess they're preaching or like explicitly like expounding their beliefs. But I guess I feel like preachy is never good. It's not like one of the, you know, if you're preachy, you're like not a compelling preacher. So I don't know. I don't know why everyone is all about saying that, but whatever. It's one of those words that never means anything good. So I guess no one wants to be preachy, but it's an interesting thing that everyone.
He just dropped this little nugget at the very end where they say, "You mentioned earlier about being influenced by racial injustice for this album. Do you find hope in the George Floyd protests and the rise of Black Lives Matter?" And Busta says, "We're at a crossroads of a real awakening happening. We're close to witnessing a day of reckoning. There are a lot of people in positions of power, politicians, the royal family, that are being forced to address the crazy shit they've done. Justice is the reward or penalty for one's actions or deeds. With every choice comes an invoice. There's an accountability that's happening in the way it should have for a long time for the people who sown the seeds of unjust bullshit. It's an important time in history, and I'm very anxious to see that the outcome works in our favor." So he's calling out the royal family there.
It's so grating to me the way that like these reporters like look to these people to like endorse, look to like like African American celebrities to kind of like endorse like whatever their political things are, but then they like sort of telegraph like thinking they're crazy by including like in their like transcript of the interview. Like
yeah,
give me a break.
Unbelievable.
Like trying
we
to get Busta Rhymes to co-sign like your message of hope after he just like just went on this long tirade about like the plandemic conspiracy that you ermed.
You
like,
earned.
But don't you think that like the Citibank sponsored protest, or like, sorry, like we're talking about the protest. Like I'm not against, I obviously fully support like but I was just saying like.
But we're aware that like especially.
Style.
On the national kind of NGO level, that there's like a little bit of a shady business going on, I would say. There's been articles about it recently where there's a huge divide between the national org Black Lives Matter and the local orgs that are actually organizing and like marching and actually doing the protests in a lot of cases.
There's a huge divide between like the kind of performative like support for Black Lives Matter by like NME journalists, not like the NME, not necessarily the enemy, but maybe, but like and like the actual experience of racism by people, and like being like, but don't you think like everything's getting better because like I posted a black square, like. When someone is telling you like about what their experience of the current moment is, like in explicit terms, like whatever. But
they just they're looking for that cosign. It looks good. Even Vigilant Citizen says the interview revealed a couple of things. First, the interviewer is kind of a douche. Second, Busta Rhymes clearly believes there are shady forces at work in the world and they're involved with the COVID crisis. And I mean, he is kind of a douche.
Like how dare you like include you saying in the transcript of the interview to be like like give me
disgusting.
Like come on, like but the thing
we love you, Busta, even if you're crazy.
Keep dancing, monkey. Like
it does have that vibe.
Like it does. But you're a musical, much like Kanye. Like you're a musical genius, but you need to stay on your meds.
Exactly.
But he didn't mention the main thing that I thought was a 9/11 prediction from ELE1, where he says, none of y'all N-words really want a war, the type of N-word to crash my plane in your building in the name of Allah.
Oh,
wow. That's on Against All Odds. Pretty, very, very similar to the events of 9/11.
So I guess Busta Rhymes did not experience a failure of imagination in the lead up to 9/11.
His imagination, that's why he's a genius, despite his eccentric views. He obviously, he just has such a great imagination that, if only they had consulted him, that tragedy might have been averted, but...
which really makes you wonder, if Busta Rhymes could intuit it out of the ether, then,
he has
how unimaginable was it?
That's why, he's an artist, but...
So, let's see, jumping back to the Vigilant Citizen article, because he does, I think, have the right idea about this album. So, like, the intro to this album is like very creepy. Really, the Extinction Level Event, the intro to both of those records is very dark and spooky, talking about plagues and civil collapse and starvation, war, etc. So I think the narrator says here at the very beginning of the album,
Genesis chapter 11, verses 1 through 9. Thousands of years before Christ, tyrant Nimrod, Gilgamesh of Shinar, enslaved the first empire. One world language, one world religion, one world order. We have learned nothing. Making the keys to heaven a gift to the devil. those who desire to supplant God, Illuminati who tempt and horrify us as the most perfect angel Lucifer, seek to rebirth a new world order upon the flesh, blood, and bones of all humanity. Again, towers rose skyward to challenge his divine glory, to conquer his serene domain. As in ancient Babylon, the one true Lord brought them down. In 2001, 3 became naught. Conspiracy is reality. Fear is the weapon of thine enemy. Acts of terror a lie told to convince the meek to surrender to their rulers. Atmospheric variances melt the polar ice caps and drown the rats who walk on 2 legs. An incurable virus to decimate the dark. Nuclear rain to set us aflame, obscured by a curtain of venom from space in the name of science. Fall to your knees, pray to a last choking breath. A new world order is here. Arrogance over God means annihilation.
Daddy, what's it gonna be like in the year 2021?
Only He can save us. This is the second coming.
For access to the full-length episode, subscribe to the Hour of Frequency at patreon.com/subliminaljihad.